The winning blueprint presents.
In the lab room.
The weekend.
The weekend that was.
We're slate skating. We're slate skating. We're slate skating. We're slate skating.
Alright, so our next matchup on the slate of games sees the Detroit Lions coming off their bye, traveling to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. And these are two teams that their records say that they are different, because the Eagles came into this game at 3-2 and the Detroit Lions came into this game at 1-3. Their records say that they're different, but I look at these teams as one and the same. They both are struggling right now. Teams that are explosive, have the potential to be explosive on offense. Teams that were explosive a year ago. Teams that, well, one made it to the playoffs, one didn't a year ago. And teams who have defenses that can be opportunistic, that can stop you, create turnovers, score points. Neither one of these teams are playing up to their full potential right now. Both of these teams are struggling in the red zone to score points. And to me, it's like two teams looking in the mirror at each other. I really felt that way. And so the first big play of this game was Stephon Logan returning a punt for the Lions and getting into Philadelphia Eagles territory. I really set up the first score of this game. Again, the Lions get close to scoring range but can't do anything with the football and are forced to kick a field goal. Something that they've been doing a lot of this season, whereas last year those were touchdowns. I don't know why this offense can't get in the end zone. I don't know why they're not utilizing Calvin Johnson more, but they're not. They're just not. So they go up 3-0 in this football game. They tack on another field goal. They get right in the red zone again, and this time they're close. The last time they kicked a field goal, it's a deep field goal. They didn't really get into the red zone per se. They probably were right on the outskirts of the red zone, maybe the 25, 27-yard line, somewhere around there. This time they were deep in the red zone. I'm talking 7-yard line. I'm talking 9-yard line. Close enough to strike. Did nothing. Had to kick another field goal. Jason Hanson, luckily enough for the Lions, Jason Hanson is their kicker, and he's automatic. So they take a 6-0 lead in this football game. But again, the Eagles are turning the football over, doing what the Eagles have been doing all season long, turning the football over. Vic is fumbling, throwing picks. I'll tell you one thing. Note to self. The Eagles cannot protect Michael Vick. Now, I know all of you already knew that. I sort of knew that. But I said a lot of Vic's hits are on his own volition. He runs out of the pocket. He's reckless. He takes shots. No. This offensive line is terrible. They can't protect Michael Vick. And so a lot of times, he's just running for his life. They can't protect Michael Vick. The Lions were destroying Vic all day long. I'm talking about hitting him from all different areas. Left side, right side, up the middle. You name it, Vic was getting hit from that side of the field. It didn't matter. You know, guys were coming from everywhere. They could not protect Michael Vick. And some of those interceptions, as much as I want to put them on Vic, I blame the offensive line. He didn't have time. He didn't have, opportunity to step into throws. He was leaving them high. They were sailing. He wasn't getting enough into it because he was getting pressure right up the middle. I mean, a lot of this pressure that he's facing, a lot of the mistakes that happen on offense for the Eagles, because he's not being protected at all. This offensive line for the Eagles stinks. I'm going to just go ahead and say it. So note to self, Eagles cannot protect Vic. You just got to remember that. So going into this game, the Eagles have been turning the football over. You thought maybe their fortunes might change. One of these games, they're not going to turn it over. They're going to put it together and they're going to win. This wasn't that game, though. Vic Fumbled, threw 2 interceptions. Same old Vic. Fumbled twice on one possession, got one back, then proceeded to fumble again and didn't get that one back. I mean, that's the kind of season it's been for the Philadelphia Eagles. They can't get out of their own way. Sort of like last year, where they were in their own way. Vic was turning the football over. He's starting to turn into a turnover machine. Got to keep your eye on him because at some point, the Eagles are going to get tired of turning the football over and say, look, if you can't take care of the football, we're going to put someone in who can. Now, I'm not saying they're going to bench Michael Vick, but what I am saying is they're going to start looking for a replacement. That replacement is probably going to be Nick Foles. So if Vic can't get his act together, they might be looking elsewhere for their quarterback position in the future. We'll talk about another quarterback that might be on his way out or the team might be looking elsewhere. But we'll get to that later. Looking at the Lions, I think Matthew Stafford isn't quite 100% from that injury he sustained in the preseason against the Raiders. I forget if it was a shoulder or a hand. I think it was a shoulder. Not quite sure if he ever really fully recovered or not. Because he misses a lot of throws that I think he should be making. Matthew Stafford made these throws a year ago with ease. This year, he's missing a lot of throws. They're not finding Calvin Johnson enough. They found him in the second half, mostly in the fourth quarter yesterday. But they didn't find him at all in the first half. They weren't looking for Calvin Johnson, and I think that's a mistake. Every game, just like the Cardinals with Larry Fitzgerald, I'm looking for my go-to receiver. I'm looking for my mismatch every chance I get. I thought last year they did a great job of having a play called throw it up to Calvin, where they just said, I don't care how many defenders are out there. I don't care what the situation is. I'm just throw it up to Calvin. Run a 9 route. I'm going to toss it up. Either you catch it or nobody catches it. We move on. They're not doing that this year. They need to go back to that, especially when they get in the red zone. If you're at the 27-yard line, tell Calvin to run straight. I'm going to throw it up. Let's see what happens. We either get a PI, you catch it, or it's next play. Why not? That would help solve a lot of your red zone woes. I don't understand what the logical thinking is there for the Lions, but they got to start scoring touchdowns and stop kicking field goals. They didn't do that in this game, almost cost them. Luckily enough for them, the Eagles are struggling with securing the football. They're just, you know what? I figured out watching this game, and not so much figured out, but what I finally came to grips with is that they're a negligent team. All around, everybody. Everybody's to blame. They're negligent is what they are. On offense, especially. The reason I say that is because they neglect to take care of the football. They refuse to do it. They refuse to take care of the football on offense, especially Vic. But they neglect to run the football. They have a stud in LaShawn Shady McCoy. Run the football. Now, the Lions did a good job of stopping him, but he didn't get the ball enough. Okay, so you don't want to run the football. Get him the football in a screen game. Get him the football on a dump off. Get him the football as a receiver. Line him up out wide. Linebacker's going to chase him out there, or a safety is going to go out there and try to cover him. Neither one of them can match up with him. Take advantage of these mismatches. Get LaShawn McCoy the football. That's neglect on your part. You have a all-pro player on your team and you don't feed him enough. So the Eagles are neglectful on offense. As a team, they don't do enough to win. They do just enough to hang around the game to give themselves a chance to win or to give themselves a chance to lose. They're too talented to be in 1-point, 2-point ball games all the time. They should be winning games going away most of these football games. Instead, they're doing just enough to win or just enough to lose. And it's a shame. But again, when you're not disciplined on offense or defense, if you're not a disciplined team, you turn the football over, you're neglectful of things that can help you win the game, this is what happens. And that's what the Eagles are to this point. But the Lions, on the other side of the ball, they're not dominating. They're not doing anything to separate themselves from their competition. And so they find themselves in games a lot of times that they should be able to win, that they lose because they're not scoring points. They're not scoring points in the red zone. That's their biggest problem. They're moving the ball up and down the field. Stafford is being efficient. They're getting in the red zone. They're kicking field goals. They have to score 7. Till they do that, they're going to continue to lose football games. When you're a team on the road, you need to take advantage of every opportunity you get. Titus Young dropped a deep ball from Matthew Stafford in this game in the first half. Could have either been a touchdown. Worst case scenario, we're looking at a big play that puts them deep in Eagles territory with a chance to score. He drops it. They end up having to punt. They go to halftime trailing in this game 7-6 to the Eagles in a game that they dominated in the first half. Eagles had nothing on offense. Eagles had turnovers on offense. And they were moving the ball on offense where the Lions, and they only had 6 points to show for it. They thoroughly dominated the first half, and they were trailing at the half, which is an indication that you're not doing enough to score points. So they go into the second half, and the Lions come out, and it's, again, much of the same as in the first half. They're moving the football, but they're not doing anything to score points. They're sustaining drives for a bit, and then they got to punt. Or something happens. Eagles finally start to wake up, however. They start getting a little bit of momentum because, again, they didn't do much of anything in the first half. They start getting a little bit of momentum. They wind up scoring a field goal. Then they go and they score a touchdown to Jeremy Maclin. And at that point, I'm thinking the game's over because these teams are struggling. Neither one of them are really scoring a lot of points. At this point, the Eagles go up about 10, 23-13 in this football game on a nice, easy Jeremy Maclin, about 60-yard touchdown pass where he catches it. It's a busted coverage. No one's there, and he runs and sprints into the end zone unabated, no one around. And at this point, with about a little bit over 5 minutes left in the game, I'm thinking that's it. This game's over. And the Lions are done because they haven't done anything in terms of scoring points-wise in this ball game to warrant me to think that they could come back. So I had written them off. And wouldn't you know it, they get a big play. Tony Scheffler in the passing game down to about the Eagles' 20-yard line. They end up punching that in, getting 7. Come back, get Jason Hanson to kick a field goal, force overtime. And the Eagles had opportunities to put this game away. 3 and out, allow the Lions to get the football back, which allowed them to go get the game-time field goal to send it into overtime. Then the Eagles win the toss in overtime, get the ball first, have a horrendous opening possession of overtime. I'm talking 2 sacks and a throwaway because Vic was under pressure and under duress on the 3rd play after being sacked the first 2 plays. They have to punt. Lions get the ball in Eagles territory. They fumble, but they recover it. And they go down, get a first down, and Jason Hanson punches home a game-winning field goal from about 50, 49 yards. Lions steal one from the Eagles in a game that both of these teams could easily say we should have won this game. Lions lay claim to actually getting the victory, 26-23. This is a hard loss for the Eagles. If you're an Eagles fan, this one stings because you had this game wrapped up. You're at home. No excuse to lose to a team who is struggling to score points. You allow them to score 10 points in the final 5 minutes of the football game to tie it up. You allow them to go to overtime, dominate you in the overtime on your first offensive possession, force you to punt. You give them prime field goal position. They get 1 first down, kick a field goal, and win the football game. Yikes. Ouch. That hurts. So now the Eagles are tied for 2nd place in the NFC East with the Redskins, are looking up at the Giants, who are now a game ahead of them. And they're struggling. They're struggling. There's no other way to say it. Meanwhile, the Lions get a big one. They came into this game 1-3 off of a bye, and they were struggling. They need to find a way to win football games. This was a big one on the road against a team that was hungry for a win of their own after coming off a hard loss a week ago against the Steelers. So this Eagles team was hungry, and they went in and got a W to take their record to 2-3 on the season. So let's see what these teams do moving forward after this tough game that they played against each other. Moving on to the Ugly Bowl, which pitted the Kansas City Chiefs at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and this game was ugly. And if you're a Buccaneers fan, it was pretty for you. It was ugly for Kansas City. It's been ugly for Kansas City all season long. It's going to continue to be ugly for Kansas City. I just hope Romeo Crennel doesn't get fired. There's not a lot for me to say about this football game. Brady Quinn got another chance. He was Brady Quinn-like, which is why he probably should be on his way out of the NFL after this stop in Kansas City. Had 22 completions, threw 2 picks, and less than 200 yards passing, 180 to be exact. Those are Brady Quinn-like numbers. You're not going to get him pushing the ball down the field. He's a dink and dunk quarterback. You can't win like that. You're not going to win many games like that. And then, to make matters worse, he turned it over twice. Not going to get it done in the National Football League. That offense stinks. Jamal Charles is all they have on offense. And when he's not going, they're not going. And that defense, it's hard for me to really gauge how bad or how good this defense is because the offense is so bad. They continuously put the defense on the field. This offense has the most turnovers in the league. They continuously turn the football over. They turn it over at an alarming rate, put the defense back on the field and put them in arduous situations time and time again. And so, hard for me to really say how bad or how good this Chiefs defense is. I know one thing, this Chiefs defense gives it up to. They're not always put in bad situations when they give it up. But again, this team is just bad all the way around. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they needed to see a team like the Chiefs at home. They needed to see a team that was struggling. They were coming off of a bye week and a well-needed one. After that loss they had at the hands of the Redskins, they were looking to rebound. They got a Kansas City Chiefs team at home that was missing their starting quarterback, that was struggling to score points. Bucs took advantage of it, forced turnovers, made plays. Mike Williams had an awesome day. Vincent Jackson added on a solid day. And watching this game, I also noticed and really said to myself, Mike Williams, after, of course, Josh Freeman, is really benefiting from the presence of Vincent Jackson. Because I think what Vincent Jackson brings to this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team is a legitimate #1 wide receiver. And I think teams were keying in on Mike Williams last year, taking him away. There was no one else to take any pressure off of him. And he wasn't getting it done because he had no help. Now you insert Vincent Jackson. Teams have to pay attention to Vincent Jackson. Mike Williams is getting one-on-one, and you're seeing what he can do when he gets one-on-one coverage. He's eating it up, as he did in his rookie season when no one knew who he was. So now he's getting one-on-one looks. He's taking advantage of it, and he's eating opposing defenses up. Now they have to pay attention to Mike Williams. Then Vincent Jackson gets some coverage that's favorable to him. He makes plays, and now it's reciprocal for both of these receivers. And the one benefiting from all of this the most is Josh Freeman. He took advantage of it in this game, ate that Chiefs defense up. They turned the ball over. Rondé Barber found his way into the end zone again. He's an ageless wonder, always getting turnovers, always being opportunistic, being Johnny on the spot. And when he gets his hand on the football, he's usually looking to score, as he did in this game, scoring again in his Hall of Fame career. And the Bucs just dominated the Chiefs from start to finish in every facet of the game, notching a victory for the Buccaneers at home, coming off their bye, 38-10 over the Kansas City Chiefs. What they did was they took advantage of opportunities from a struggling football team, held them down on offense, and scored points. They win 38-10, taking their record to 2-3 on the season, dropping the Kansas City Chiefs to 1-5 on the season. And this Chiefs team is reeling. And really, they should be 0-6. They got a lucky win from the New Orleans Saints, who were struggling at the time. And they're not a good football team at all. They might be the worst team in all of football. That's debatable because there's a couple of bad teams out there, but they're right there. They stink. They're terrible. They're funky. And again, I hope Romeo Crennel does not get fired because he needs a quarterback. You don't win in this league if you don't have a quarterback. And they don't have a quarterback. So let's hope that they can find a way to play better before the season is over and they don't go 2-14 and just look terrible and there's not a mutiny and Romeo Crennel has to pay because of it. Let's just hope they give him a chance to find out if Ricky Stanzi is any good. And if not, they need to go get a quarterback in the draft. They can't wait around for Matt Cassell to get his act together. They can't wait around for Brady Quinn, who stinks. And Ricky Stanzi, by all accounts, isn't who they thought he was. Or else he would probably be playing right now. So, what do you do if you're Kansas City? I don't know. Moving right along. The most disappointing game for me of the day happened in Arizona as the Arizona Cardinals took on the Buffalo Bills. And I said in the preview that the Buffalo Bills were in freefall mode. The Cardinals just needed to come in and establish dominance early on in this game, and Buffalo would fold. That's what this Bills team does. But I told them, I said, if you can't do one thing, all it takes is one. If you can't do one thing in this game, you will be in a dogfight. If you cannot stop the run, you will be in it for a long day against this Buffalo Bills team. Because not stopping the run means that now you're allowing Ryan Fitzpatrick to not have to beat you. He can just play a solid game, not turn it over, be efficient, make passes that are there, but more importantly, turn around and hand it off to his running backs. You have to stop the run against the Bills. You do that, you chop off the head, the body will die. That is the head of the Buffalo Bills offense. That's the head of their team. When they're not going on offense, that defense struggles. When they're solid on offense, the defense feeds off of it, and now they're a tough team. So, you allowed them to run the football, and I told you couldn't. And once they did that, Ryan Fitzpatrick got comfortable. You weren't able to force any turnovers for the most part. Now you're in a dogfight. The Cardinals allowed the Bills to come out early in this game, settle in, and look, first play of the game. They're trying to give it to you. Fred Jackson fumbles the football right to William Gay. Cardinals recover it deep in Bills territory. I'm like, that's exactly what you want to do. That's exactly how you want to start the football game. These are the Bills. I told you that's what they were going to do. They're going to give you the football game. No resistance. First play of the game, fumble. And you can't do anything but get a field goal out of it. Sad. They give you the ball in their territory, and you do nothing with it. Kevin Cobb has a wide open Jeff King over the middle of the field, misses him. Check down city, field goal. Pathetic. That was all you needed right there. You get 7 after that fumble, that's demoralizing. Demoralizing. They go into a shell, you win this game going away. Instead, you kick a field goal. They do nothing with it on offense after you kick it off. They pin you, and you get a safety. Kevin Cobb, you are too nonchalant with the football around the end zone. When you get in your own end zone, you're way too relaxed. Get rid of the football, man. How many sacks do you take? How many safeties do you give up? Probably the most in the league when you're in your own end zone. You're way too nonchalant, as if the pocket isn't going to collapse. As if you have a bona fide offensive line. You know your offensive line is suspect. You can't be hanging around the pocket just chilling, waiting for it to engulf you and get a sack and give up a safety. Get rid of the football. So they get a safety. You got to kick it off to them. They get a good return on top of that after the safety kick, after the free kick. Go down and get a touchdown. So now they're up 9-3. Now you're in a dogfight because now they got confidence. Now they feel like we can play with this Arizona Cardinals football team. The one thing you did not want to allow them to have, confidence in this game. You let them run the football. You let them get confidence. Now you're in a dogfight. You go down, find Larry Fitzgerald before the half, and take a lead 10-9. But you were in a dogfight from that point on. You had opportunities. You spoiled them. You didn't do anything with them. You allowed the Bills to hang around, make a couple plays here and there. Next thing you know, the Bills score a touchdown, go up 16-10. You kick a couple field goals to tie the game up. But again, you guys never really had a hold of this football game. The Bills always were in control of this game because you allowed them to do so. So you go to overtime off of that long field goal kicked by Jay Feely that propelled them to overtime, that long 55-yard field goal attempt, or was it 61 yards? Either way, long field goal attempt that he pounds home, allows them to take it to overtime. Kevin Kolb gets hurt in this football game. John Skelton has to come in. And I realized something. I was one of the proponents of John Skelton getting a start to start the season off. He stinks. He stinks. Kevin Kolb isn't much better, but he's better than John. They need a quarterback in Arizona. Wouldn't it be nice if they could get their hands on, say, Matt Flynn? In a year or two, if you still have a dilemma at quarterback, could I interest you in some Kirk Cousins? Because you need a quarterback. You guys stink out there at quarterback. And it's really sickening that you have a solid football team that plays some really, really good defense that could be winning a lot of games. You should be leading this division in the NFC West right now. No doubt about it. You should be winning this division. You should legitimately have one loss. And I don't even know if you should have lost to the St. Louis Rams. I don't know if a better quarterback wins you that football game or not. I'm not sure because that line was so putrid that night. I don't know. But I know this better quarterback play and you only have one loss at best. You need a quarterback. This thing could go down. This thing could go downhill fast for you guys if you don't figure out this thing at quarterback. But nonetheless, you get to overtime. Skelton, in all of his splendor, throws a pick on the first possession right to the Bills after they had to punt after their first possession in overtime. Cardinals get the ball deep in their own territory. Skelton throws a pick right to Jarius Byrd. Wasn't even close. Runs it back to the 6-yard line. They waste no time. Send their kicker out on the field. Ryan Lindell, he pounds it home. Bills go home with a win. One that they had no business getting. And now they're 3-3 as well in the 3-3 division known as the AFC East. Meanwhile, the Cardinals dropped to 4-2 on the season after starting the season 4-0. They've dropped 2 straight. And these were the teams that they should have been able to beat. Yeah, the Rams, that's family business. I give you a pass on that one. You should have lost to the Dolphins as well. You got by that one. And you dropped one to the Bills. Inexcusable. Inexcusable. I'm very disappointed. This is a game you should have won. And again, you're 4-2 on the season. Someone's not going to make it. One or two of you in the NFC West isn't going to make it for the long haul. Everybody's there right now. But as this season moves along and we get deeper into the 2012 season, one or two of you in that division aren't going to take that step forward with the rest. Starting to look like you might be that team, Arizona. If not you and St. Louis, you might be that team. Because everyone in that division has a quarterback except you. So while the Rams might be stagnant on offense at times, they have a quarterback. You don't. They have a running back. You don't. Their offensive line isn't the best. But guess what? Their offensive line is better than yours. So Arizona Cardinals, you got to look in the mirror and say, what are we going to do to find a way to win games? Because you don't have, if you want to win, if you want to go anywhere, can't lose games to the Buffalo Bills at home. Can't do it. So now you're 4-2 in the season. Buffalo's 3-3, and that's a tough one to swallow. 19-16 at home, a loss to the Buffalo Bills. Hard to swallow. I'm disappointed. That's all I can say. I have really nothing else to say on the matter, but I'm disappointed in the Arizona Cardinals. You really let me down this week. Don't know where to go from here in terms of picking you on Sundays. I don't know what to make of you. Because your quarterback situation, as I thought it was going to be coming into the season, and was a little thrown off because you guys were winning games, playing defense, and really stifling teams with your defense and doing just enough on offense to win, kind of got sidetracked from the fact that your quarterback situation is a mess. And now it's starting to rear its ugly head, and I don't know what to make of you guys moving forward. So we'll see. New England Patriots taking on the Seattle Seahawks in what I said was going to be great offense, number one offense in the Patriots versus great defense, number one defense of the Seattle Seahawks. Colliding. Makes for some great football. And that's exactly what we got in this game. And New England came out early on in this game and established that, hey, we're the New England Patriots. We have Tom Brady. We have Wes Welker. You don't. Try and stop us. We're number one for a reason. And they looked sharp early on. But I did notice that this Seattle Seahawks defense, while they were giving up some plays early in this game, they weren't going to go away. This wasn't going to be a Brady masterpiece on the road. This was a dreary, cloudy, rainy day in Seattle. This was Seattle Seahawks football at its best. The 12th man was loud. It's raining. It's Seattle. It's dark. It's dreary. You're in CenturyLink. It's tough to win in Seattle when it's like that. And so they were going to hang around. The defense said, look, yeah, you got us a couple of times early in the football game. Wes Welker looks like he's going to be a pro. They put some shots on Wes Welker. Brandon Browner put a shot on him. Cam Chancellor put a shot on him. They put some shots. They were physical with this Patriots offense. You know, Danny Woodhead's also a nice, exciting piece for the Patriots, someone that's hard to deal with. And so the Patriots were doing some things on offense, but the Seattle Seahawks defense was keeping that team in the ballgame. And what I liked about the Seattle Seahawks in this game is that their offense was doing, you know, some things. Russell Wilson with his legs, with his arms. What they were doing for the most part, keeping them honest with Marshawn Lynch, because they know that's the biggest part of their Seattle Seahawks offense. Marshawn Lynch, we got to stop the run. We got to stop the run. We got to stop the run. So the Seahawks go play action fake off of that. Next thing you know, Russell Wilson is going up top to Golden Tate. He's going up top to Sidney Rice. He's going up top to Doug Baldwin. Boom. Big play in the passing game. Off of play action fake. You got to respect it because Marshawn Lynch is their best part of their offense. So you got to respect it. When you come up, that safety's in the box. It's one-on-one deep. Now you're in trouble. And Russell Wilson was not missing the deep ball. He was consistently connecting on the deep ball against this Patriots defense. Really, it was fun to watch. It was a thing of beauty. Him dropping back, sliding just slightly in the pocket and letting it rip 40, 50 yards down the field to a Seahawks a receiver, that would go up and make a play. Whether it was Doug Baldwin early in the football game, Golden Tate in the middle of the game, or Sidney Rice late to seal it for the Seattle Seahawks. They hung in this game. The Patriots tried to run away several times. Early in the game, they took a lead. Seahawks hung around. Middle of the game, they tried to run away. They got up by as much as 10. Seahawks hung around. They would not go away. And then late, when they had a chance to put it away, the Seahawks defense rose. Brady hadn't been picked off in over 170 pass attempts, threw 2 picks in this game, one in the red zone. That was a costly pick. Can't turn it. Again, you cannot turn the ball over on the road and lose the turnover battle and think you're going to beat teams on the road. That's not how it works in the NFL. Brady went on the road, uncharacteristically so, turned the football over, in the red zone nonetheless, taking points off the board, and this Seattle Seahawks defense that's very opportunistic, very physical with their corners and their secondary in general. Those safeties play ball as well. Got pressure on Brady in the second half, started to move him off his spot, started to make him uncomfortable, and forced the Patriots into mistakes. And that proved to be the difference in the ballgame. You make them make mistakes. You take advantage of those mistakes. You give yourself a chance. That's all you can ask for in the fourth quarter. If you're any team in the National Football League, you just want a chance in the fourth quarter to win the football game. That's what the Seahawks gave themselves by forcing turnovers from this Patriots offense. And in doing so, took the lead. Deep ball to Sidney Rice late in the ballgame. What a clutch throw by Russell Wilson. He was excellent in this football game. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, very efficient, like 17 of 28 for up over 300 yards passing. He was the difference in this game on offense, and that Seahawks defense did just enough to win. They are number 1 in the league for a reason. They got the lead. They gave Brady back the ball with ample enough time to go get a field goal, but their defense would have none of it. They sacked Brady, got them into 4th and long, and made Brady have to try to complete a 17-yard pass on 4th and 17 after sacking him on 3rd down, making it a tough situation. Fell short. Walker got about 15 on 4th and 17, and the Seattle Seahawks at home against the New England Patriots get a very impressive win, 24-23, taking their record to 4-2 on the season. And don't look now, the Seattle Seahawks are playing the San Francisco 49ers on Thursday Night Football for the right to claim first place in the NFC West division. This is going to be a fun matchup on Thursday night because this San Francisco 49ers team, we'll get to them in a second. Let's finish up these Seattle Seahawks. They are going to be competing for first place outright. Right now they're tied with the 49ers, tied with the Cardinals. But they're going to compete outright for first place with the San Francisco 49ers on Thursday Night Football. That's going to be a fun matchup. This Seattle Seahawks football team, they're for real. And they're for real because they play defense. Anytime you play the type of defense they play, you're going to give yourself a chance to win every single week. I don't care who you're playing. If your offense doesn't turn it over, and you got a young quarterback, so it's going to happen, just as it did against the Rams a couple weeks back when they lost on the road to the St. Louis Rams. It's going to happen. But if they can minimize the amount of turnovers and the amount of pressure they put on Wilson's shoulders and allow him to be comfortable back there, they're going to be a dangerous team because they play elite defense. I didn't stutter. They play elite defense. Those corners, those safeties, that defensive line, they get pressure. Those corners and safety, they make plays on the football. They limit your receivers from making plays. And those linebackers flow to the football. Dangerous team. Meanwhile, the New England Patriots, they've been a roller coaster team. I said it before, I say it again. 1 minute they're up, the next minute they're down. And a lot of that stems from that defense. You don't know what you're getting from that defense from week to week. You know what you're getting out of Tom Brady and that offense. But that defense, 1 week, they're creating turnovers, setting up scoring possessions for the offense or scoring themselves on defense. And the next week, they're giving it up like they did a season ago, where they just can't turn the faucet off. Teams turn that faucet on and are scoring, and they can't turn it off. And so you don't know what you're getting out of this Patriots defense. And that's really a cause for concern for this Patriots football team moving forward, because if it were just up to the offense, they would probably be undefeated right now. They score points on offense. But defensively, you don't know what you're getting. And so you get a 3-3 ball club in the 3-3 division known as the AFC East. So now it's a four-way tie for first. Every team in the division is 3-3. Patriots 3-3, Jets 3-3, Bills 3-3, Dolphins 3-3. That's a mess over there. And no one saw that division turning out the way that it's turned. Just like no one saw the NFC West turning out the way it's turned out. There's a lot of parity in the National Football League right now. A lot of evenly matched teams. And these two divisions that these two teams respectively come out of give credence to that. I mean, you look at the AFC East, everybody's tied at 3-3. You look at the NFC West, who saw the St. Louis Rams and the Arizona Cardinals stepping up and playing as good a football as they have throughout the first 6 weeks of the season? I mean, who saw the Seattle Seahawks playing as well as they have? I mean, we knew the Seahawks had a little bit in them, but who saw them being the #1 ranked defense? Who saw them having 4 wins to this point in the season? No one. Don't kid yourself. So that's going to be a very interesting matchup on Thursday night, because our next game sees the New York Giants taking on the San Francisco 49ers in a rematch of the NFC Championship game from a year ago, where the Giants were able to defeat the San Francisco 49ers in a hard-fought football game and go to the Super Bowl and win, leaving the San Francisco 49ers to wonder what if. So everyone was under the impression that the San Francisco 49ers were out for revenge in this game, were going to play their best football against a Giants team that can score points. And they were going to beat them. And what happened was a total sound thrashing, a sound beating at the hands of the New York Giants. The Giants came out and established themselves in this football game as a team that was just flat out better than the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, they beat them in every facet of the game. Special teams, offense, defense. Yes, they beat them on defense as well. The thing about the San Francisco 49ers is, and this is, I remember I spoke to earlier when I said that, you know, the Eagles might be looking in a different direction. Not this year, no, not at all. But moving forward, that's something that's going to be discussed internally. Is it time to move on from the Vic experience? Same discussion is going on internally in San Francisco, and you're seeing it kind of play out on the field. Hear me out. If you watch this football game, and if you've been watching the 49ers over the past 3 weeks or so, you've been seeing spot duty for Colin Kaepernick. And it's not just wildcat duty. It's not just him coming in like he did against the Jets and coming in, running the wildcat, being a nuisance, running the football, keeping it, and just bringing a different element to the San Francisco 49ers offense. No, that's not what he's just being called in the game to do. They're actually calling him in conventional situations, having him hand the ball off, having him throw the football down the field, having him be a real quarterback in that system. You know what that tells me? They're prepping him for the future. Not just in case Alex Smith goes down with an injury. They're prepping him because he's the heir apparent to Alex Smith. It's a reason why they were going after Peyton Manning in the offseason when they had a chance to get him. Because they knew Alex Smith isn't the type of quarterback that long-term can get it done for you in the playoffs. In the regular season, he's fine because with that defense and that running game, he's perfect for what the 49ers want to do. He's not going to turn it over. Because if you don't make him beat you, he'll take the 5-yard check down. He'll take the out. He'll take the slant all day long. He won't take chances down the field because he doesn't have to. They're running the football. They're playing defense. You got to come from behind and catch them, not the other way around. So I don't have to force anything. I don't have to take any chances. I can just be safe. First down, run it with Frank Gore. Second down, throw the 5-yard out to Crabtree. Now it's 3rd and 3. Now I can just throw a 4-yard slant to Vernon Davis, and now we're moving the sticks. That's the 49ers offense. Running with Gore, short, 3rd and short. Now you hit a short pass. Keep the sticks moving. First down, come out, 5-yard stop, to Mario Manningham. Second down, 6-yard pass to Vernon Davis, move the sticks. First down, hand it off to Frank Gore. Second down, hand it off to Frank Gore. Third down, out to Delaney Walker. First down, move the sticks. That's the 49ers. It's a deliberate offense. I like to call it a deliberate offense because everything is methodical. It's thought out. And if it doesn't work to a T, then it's not going to work at all. And that's what happened. The Giants systematically took them apart in this game. They didn't allow them to get ahead, which is one of the prerequisites for the 49ers winning a football game. They have to take a lead. If they're from behind in a football game and they're asking Alex Smith to bring them back, not happening. That's not in Alex Smith's DNA. They have to play with a lead. We saw that against the Vikings. You saw it again against the Giants. Once they fall behind, he's not equipped with that in his arsenal to come back. He starts throwing picks. He starts pressing. He starts trying to make plays. They start to turn into turnovers. And again, this 49ers team cannot turn the football over. When they start turning the football over, you get in trouble. Because now you're giving up points. And his defense was still stingy. Giants got in the red zone a few times. They forced them to kick field goals. But a couple of times they got in, they scored touchdowns. You can't ask this San Francisco 49ers defense to hold all the time when the offense isn't doing their part. And that's what happened. They crumbled under the pressure that the Giants were putting on them on the defensive end. So Alex Smith was getting sacked. They stopped Frank Gore. They said, Alex Smith, you have to beat us. Frank Gore isn't running the football on us today. And what did Alex Smith do? He turned the football over. 3 picks. And just like that, the Giants jumped on the 49ers. And he's not a quarterback that's coming back. We've already established that. And so what the 49ers was doing in this game was sprinkling in a little Colin Kaepernick. I'm going to tell you right now, that's no coincidence. That's no, oh, they just want him to come in, change the pace, a different look for the defense. No. What they're doing is they're grooming their quarterback for the future. Colin Kaepernick is a better version of Alex Smith. More athletic, stronger arm, can make plays on the football field. He's not a caretaker of the football. He's a guy that's going to come in, take some chances, try to make some things happen. That's where the 49ers are trying to go. That's the direction they're trying to go in with this offense, because this defense is ready to win a Super Bowl right now. This offense, however, is not. And so the next logical step is finding a quarterback that can take them to the next level. That guy is not Alex Smith. They think, and I'm thinking internally, they think that guy is Colin Kaepernick. So I'm telling you, watch out, because I don't think they're going to make a move this year. I don't think you're in the position to do that during the course of a season. That's not beneficial to your football team. But if they don't do the things that they want to do this season, and I'm thinking it's Super Bowl or bust. They don't win a Super Bowl, which I don't see them being able to do with the offense that they employ. And you thinking a big part of the reason why you didn't win is Alex Smith, which probably is ultimately going to be the reason why they don't get it done. I can see that in the offseason, them having a quarterback competition and Colin Kaepernick winning that job outright next year. I can see it happening. I can see Harbaugh opening up the door for that by him playing Kaepernick through the season, seeing what he can do. And I can see that door being open. And he's slowly opening that door. That's why Kaepernick is in the game. But the Giants dominated in this game. Let's not take away what the Giants did in this game. They came out, stopped Frank Gore, got after Alex Smith, put pressure on them by scoring points in the red zone. And these were touchdowns early in the game. Then they started tacking on field goals late. Because they didn't, at that point in the game, they knew the San Francisco 49ers were in no position to come back. All we need to do is when we get a chance, because the 49ers were giving them chances by turning the football over, we get a chance to score, just get a field goal. Don't press the issue, turn it over, because Eli Manning had an opportunity to throw a pick in this game. Carlos Rogers had one hit him right in the hands, might have ran for a touchdown. And see, this is the difference between last year's 49ers, this year's 49ers. The last year's team, they did not turn the football over under no circumstances last year. They didn't do it on offense. They did not turn the football over under any circumstances. I don't care if they were trailing. They kept it close, played it close to the vest, gave the defense an opportunity to keep the game close, and if they could squeak it out with David Akers and 6 field goals, that's what they did. But they weren't going to turn it over. They weren't going to press. They were going to make you beat them. They weren't going to beat themselves. Well, in their 2 losses this year, they beat themselves. They turned the football over. The other team jumped on them, scored points, made them have to come from behind. That's not what they're about. Last year, they didn't have that happen to them often. They played it close to the vest. They did not turn the football over. They made you beat them, and you couldn't do it most of the time. And last year, they were opportunistic on defense. You made a mistake, oh, best believe you were paying for it. Carlos Rogers, who couldn't catch a cold around a daycare full of sick kids, caught 6 interceptions last year. On his way to a Pro Bowl and an All-Pro appearance, and rightfully so, and he deserved it. He's always been a good corner that's always around the football, just couldn't catch. Last year, he caught everything. This year, he drops picks now. That's the difference between last year's team and this year's team. The plays they were making last year, they're not making them this year. That's the difference in your football team. And so, they just kicked field goals when they got in the red zone after they scored 2 touchdowns. The Giants said, we don't need to force the issue, make a mistake that could turn this game around, which Eli Manning almost did. Carlos Rogers couldn't corral it and take it to the house. Let's just kick field goals. If we run it in, cool, but you know you don't run it in often on the San Francisco 49ers defense. Not something that happens often. So they were very satisfied with running the football twice and then on 3rd down taking a shot in the end zone. If it didn't work, kick a field goal. As long as we keep scoring, they're not going to catch us. And that's what happened. They were only able to muster 3 points in this game were the San Francisco 49ers. Meanwhile, the Giants taking advantage of 3 San Francisco 49er turnovers. It turned them into points. And that was the difference in the game. Turnovers, the Giants' ability to play on offense, score points, limit the San Francisco 49ers on the offensive side, get pressure on Alex Smith, force him into errant throws, stop Frank Gore, make Alex Smith beat you, which he can't. Giants get it done. And the Giants, they step up in big-time situations. Eli Manning he's playing MVP-like football this year. Don't know how long he's going to be able to keep this pace up where he's just terrorizing opposing defenses. But he's playing some really good football. He's not turning it over. I'm waiting for the Eli Manning no-look pass where he just is under duress, is coming straight at him. He just fires it, turns his head, and hopes for the best. I don't see that anymore. Maybe he's graduated from that point in his career where he didn't have to do that anymore. I don't know. Maybe you just need to put pressure on him. They didn't get pressure on him for the most part yesterday. So, I don't know. Ahmad Bradshaw went over 100 yards, which is unheard of against this San Francisco 49ers. The Giants just played a really good football game. They just dominated them. David Wilson was great on special teams. They just dominated them in every single aspect of the football game. Offense, defense, special teams. You lose all three of those, plus the turnover battle, you're going to get blown out, which is what the San Francisco 49ers did, 26-3 at home against the Giants in a rematch of the NFC Championship game from a year ago. The 49ers got soundly beaten in this football game. It wasn't close, and it was never close in the second half. First half, nip and tuck a little bit. Giants started to pull away. Second half, they put the clamps on them, forcing turnovers, turning those turnovers into points. And the 49ers never were really in this game in the second half. They were soundly handled. And this leaves you asking questions as to how good this San Francisco 49ers team really is, especially when they fall behind in the football game, because they don't have the quarterback that can beat you coming from behind. You just don't feel confident in what Alex Smith brings to the table once you fall behind if you're the San Francisco 49ers. What do you do moving forward? That's your Achilles heel right now, falling behind in a football game. You know this defense is going to play. But what happens when your offense decides to turn it over? I told you, when this 49ers team decides to turn it over 3 times, 2 times, and they want to give up 23 points, what do you do? Because this offense isn't a score 23 points a game offense. That's not what they do. Yeah, they had an outburst last week, destroyed the Jets 2 weeks ago, but that's not who they are. When they don't play teams who are willing to turn the football over, who are willing to give up, they play teams that are actually good, that are going to play some defense, that are going to make them earn everything they get. What do you do when you decide to turn it over 2 times, 3 times, and give up 23 to your opponent when you can only score 16, 17 points? What do you do? I don't know. That's the question the 49ers have to ask themselves. What do you do when you fall behind 13-0 in a football game and Alex Smith is your quarterback? What do you do when you turn it over 2 or 3 times on the offensive end and you're trailing 17-3? What do you do? Giants 4-2 on the season. 49ers 4-2 on the season. These teams might see each other again. If you're the 49ers, you got to be hoping for a different outcome. But you got to make it that far first. This is a question you have to ask yourself now. You went from being, 3 weeks ago, from being arguably the best team in all of football to now, who are you? Giants, meanwhile, they're looking like the Super Bowl champions from a year ago. They're playing solid football. Defensively, wasn't impressed with them coming into this football game. The defense stepped up in this game. Antrell Roll, 2 picks. Prince Amukamara got a pick. Defense got after Alex Smith. They shut down the running game with the front 7. Impressive. Impressive. Touche, New York Giants. You're 4-2. You lead the NFC East now. Now you have to match up against the Washington Redskins next week at home and stopping Robert Griffin III. Touche, New York Giants. You were the victors, and you look like arguably the best team in the NFC. As you should, because you are the Super Bowl defending champions. Last up on the Sunday slate of games was a matchup that I said that the Packers had to be flawless to beat this Houston Texans team on the road. And I said they weren't going to be able to do it. The Green Bay Packers traveled to Houston on Sunday Night Football. First time the Houston Texans have ever been on Sunday Night Football. First time they had been at home on Sunday Night Football. But think about it. Never been on Sunday Night Football to begin with. So they couldn't have been at home if they never been on it. So it was a night of first for the Houston Texans all over the place. First home game on Sunday Night Football. First appearance on Sunday Night Football. So they were amped. Crowd was amped. They were amped. You're undefeated. You're on national TV, getting a chance to show the world what you can do against a really good football team. The Packers are 2-3, but we all know the Packers are better than 2-3. They could be 3-2 on the season. They got jobbed in a game. They should have been 4-2. They should have beat the Colts for 4-1. Excuse me, going into this game, they should have beat the Colts, but they didn't. And we don't talk about should have, could have, would have, if. I don't deal with that. I deal with results. And they lost, and they're 2-3 on the season. So the Texans were supposed to win this football game. They were supposed to play defense, stop the Packers on offense, limit them and their effectiveness, and come out, establish yourself as the undefeated team in this game, the home team in this game, the team that's looking like a Super Bowl contender, and put the Packers to rest. I told you you had a chance to put a nail in the Packers' coffin. Do it. Instead, you come out and you set the tone for a night that was going to be a house of horrors for you. A comedy of errors on the part of the Houston Texans. They did not look like a team that was 5-0. They did not look like a disciplined football team. They looked out of sorts. They did not execute the way they had been doing all season long. And it started early on the first possession. They get the Packers to go and have to punt. Aaron Rodgers missed an opportunity to connect deep with Jordy Nelson for a touchdown. And so they really dodged a bullet. Forced them to have to punt. It's 4th and 4. And DeVere Posey lines up offsides on punt. Give me a break. How do you do that? Costly penalty. Packers get the football back, and wouldn't you know, next play, Aaron Rodgers goes up top to Jordy Nelson again. This time he doesn't miss. Touchdown. Just like that, Packers strike, and it's 7-0. And I told you, matter of fact, let's get a recap of what I said. This is what I said in the preview. So the Packers, who are coming into this game under 500, and rightfully so, they're not playing good football, are going against a team who's 5-0. And you look at that and you say, hey, the Texans should be able to take care of business at home against a struggling Packers team. I tell you, while that may well be the case, why? Who knows if Aaron Rodgers decides to have one of those near flawless performances where he goes out and goes 33 of 39 for 412 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, and carve up the Houston Texans defense. Now, that's what I said had to happen. I didn't think it was going to happen, but I said it's possible. Anytime Aaron Rodgers sets foot on a football field, it's possible because he has the tools necessary to go out and light up any National Football League team. I don't care who it is. He has the tools. He has the weapons out wide. Of course, he's still missing Greg Jennings, but when he gets him back full strength, and his receiving corps is full strength, they're dangerous because Aaron Rodgers, to me, for my money, I don't care. You can have Brady. You can have Breeze. Give me Aaron Rodgers any day of the week because Aaron Rodgers can run. Aaron Rodgers can throw. Aaron Rodgers can run while throwing, can throw while running. What else is there to say? He can put it on a button down the field, 50 yards. He can put it on a rope, 40 yards down the field on the run, cross his body. He's got the total package. Now, his line has not been protecting him this year, so He hasn't been able to showcase all of his skills. And he's been missing some guys. Let's not put it all on his offensive line. He's been missing, just like in the first quarter, on that first possession, before when they had to punt, before they got the extra opportunity because of DeVere Posey's offsides penalty. He missed an open James Jones. Excuse me, I said Jordy Nelson before. It was James Jones, wide open. He missed James Jones. He's done that numerous times this year. A number of times. Jordy Nelson, James Jones, guys are streaking down the field wide open. Last year, he was hitting them every time. In his sleep, eyes closed, behind his back, he was hitting these guys in stride, on the money, touchdown. He wasn't missing open receivers at all last year. That's how you get 45 touchdowns versus 6 picks. You don't miss open receivers. When you got a chance to put a dagger in somebody, he put a dagger in them. This year, he's missing those deep balls. That's a big difference in his Packers offense from a year ago. And while we think they're struggling, they're not struggling. I love the graphic that NBC put up last night showing his numbers from last year and this year. Even though they showed the whole body of work from last year and then they showed up until the point this year, I would have liked them to have shown what he had done through the first 5 games last year, what he had done in the first 5 games this year, because I think that would have been a more talented stat. And I bet you his numbers this year aren't that far away from what he was doing last year. Now, of course, I think he has 3 or 4 interceptions this year. I'm pretty sure that number was either none or 1 at this point last year. Nonetheless, his rating was probably right around the same spot it's at now last year. He's still playing good football. I think he's thrown 10 touchdown passes coming into this game, only 3 interceptions. He's playing good football. Quarterback rating up over 96. It's not just him that's a problem, or it's not him that's the problem. I take that back. It's a number of things. They don't know what they want to do on offense. Yeah, he's missing the deep ball. Yeah, he's missing some pieces out there. Guys aren't helping him all the time. He's not making plays all the time. But this offensive line stinks. That defense is giving up plays. They're a feast of famine defense. Either they're coming after you, forcing turnovers, getting sacks, being disruptive in your backfield, and limiting you to next to nothing like they did the Chicago Bears, like they did for the most part against the Seattle Seahawks. Or they're just giving it up. And you're hitting them and you're doing whatever you want to do, like the San Francisco 49ers were able to do to them. You know, and like the New Orleans Saints were able to do to them. So you don't know what you're getting from this defense week in, week out. But they showed up to play last night. Aaron Rodgers, again, was flawless. 6 touchdown passes. I said that tongue-in-cheek in the preview. Just trying to give you a real sense of what had to be done for them to win. Not necessarily saying he was actually going to go out and do it. And that's exactly what he did. His performance was stellar. They couldn't guard Jordy Nelson. They couldn't guard James Jones. They couldn't stop Aaron Rodgers in the passing game. Alex Green actually looked pretty good last night. I was very impressed with what I saw out of him. You know, catching the ball out of the backfield, rushing the football. The Texans on offense, they just couldn't get the running game going. You know, that's a big part of what they do. They run the football. They go play action fake off of that run. If you're able to stop Arian Foster and Ben Tate and make the Texans one-dimensional, you got a good shot at beating the Houston Texans. Problem is, they're so good at what they do that it's so hard to stop them from running the football. You know it's coming. You know the stretch is coming. You know that zone blocking scheme is coming. Yet you can't stop it because they're good at what they do. Everything looks the same, just as Chris Collinsworth said on the telecast last night. The play action fake looks the same as a run. You know, you can't tell if it's a run or a pass until after Schaub is turned around and he's ready to throw the football. At that point, you're beat. Owen Daniels is open. Andre Johnson is open. Kevin Walter is open. So what the Packers did was they stopped the run. Said, hey, Matt Schaub, you beat us. He wasn't up to the task. And they compounded matters and made things worse by committing penalty after penalty after penalty after penalty after penalty. They were a very dysfunctional team last night. Very very uncharacteristic of this Houston Texans team up until this point in the season. They have been very disciplined. They did not commit stupid penalties that extended drives for their opponents. Had penalties that stopped their own drives. And they weren't efficient on the offensive end. And this defense that had been, ranked in the top 5 was gashed. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that they're adjusting to life after Brian Cushing. You don't realize how much of an impact he has on his team until he's gone. They were able to get by the Jets because the Jets, they're not an efficient offensive football team. And so his presence wasn't missed as much in that football game. But now they went against a true test, a team that can score points. And he wasn't there. He wasn't there to pressure the quarterback. He wasn't there to stop the run. And Alex Green was having, effective runs. He wasn't busting off 13 and 17 and 22-yard runs. But there were 4, 5, 6-yard gains sporadically and kept the Packers in great down and distance, allowed them to have the whole playbook open to them. So on 2nd and 4, Rodgers could fake the handoff, go up top, find a wide open receiver. It kept them honest so they couldn't just come up the field. And then it allowed them to pass the ball at will. Rodgers had a lot of time in this game. When he wasn't buying time with his legs, he was just in the pocket, surveying options, going through read 1, 2, 3, coming back around 1, 2, 3. Okay, 3's open now. I'm going to hit him. And a lot of that was a byproduct of not having Brian Cushing, not having that extra defender out there. And he's also good in coverage, in addition to stopping the run and getting pressure on the quarterback. So he's going to be a big loss for them. It's something that's going to linger for a while. They're going to have to make adjustments. But they're not going to play the Packers on offense every week. Luckily enough for them. But on this given night, the Packers came in, dominated, and the Texans really didn't have an answer for that offense of the Packers. And they made too many mistakes. You want to have penalties, senseless penalties, extend drives for the Packers who don't need any help. They can do it on their own. You're going to pay. And that's what happened. And the Packers came out, stopped their running attack for the most part, made them one-dimensional, and Texans weren't able to adjust to the fact that the Packers were scoring and stopping their running game. They weren't able to adjust. And so the Packers went into Houston on Sunday Night Football in a hostile environment and stunned the Houston Texans 42-24. And really, they really took it to the Texans. And the Texans had no answer for Aaron Rodgers in that offense. So the Packers even their record up at 3-3. That's a big win for them. They dropped to 2-4. The Bears sitting there idle on a bye week at 4-1. The Vikings, they fall to the Redskins, but they're still 4-2 on the season. You drop to 2-4 on the season, that's a really big hole to climb out of. One that I don't know if the Packers are able to climb out of. Instead, they get a big one on the road against a previously undefeated team, take their record to 3-3, and now they're right there. The Vikings now looking over their shoulder. The Packers are right there. They haven't played the Packers this season yet, and so the Vikings are ahead of them, but the Packers are right there. They've already beaten the Bears once, so the Bears are right there in arm's reach of the Packers, and so now they're right back in the thick of things. I already said, and I'm not moving off of my stance, that in that division, 2 teams are coming out, and I still have it reserved for the Packers and the Bears. I think the Vikings are a nice story right now, but they're going to falter when it's all said and done. But they're going to be around. They're not going to be a 10 or a 9-win team. They'll probably win 8 or 7 games this season. And it'll be a nice story for a team that many had winning 5, maybe 6 at the most. I had them winning about 4, maybe 5 games. So they're going to be around. They're going to cause problems for a lot of teams in the league. But I think that division is still the Packers to win if they want it. I think the Bears are going to have to do everything in their power to hold those Packers off from taking that division from them. We'll see. That's going to be interesting moving forward. That's going to be an interesting storyline. Looking at it from the Texans' point of view, the sky is not falling. You're not all of a sudden a terrible team. You lost to a good football team. You got throttled by a team that was clicking on all cylinders on offense for one night. And you were the recipient of an offense that was rolling. And they steamrolled you. It happens. Usually it doesn't happen to you because your defense has been playing well, but you're missing one of your best players on that side of the ball. And so now you have to go back to the drawing board, figure out how you're going to make the proper adjustments so that things like this don't occur on a weekly basis. Teams aren't going to stop your running game all the time. You're a dominant running team. You go play action fake off of that dominant running game. And most teams can't stop you from doing that. So you got something you can hang your hat on. You had an off night. You're not an undisciplined team. You just had a night where you weren't disciplined. Get back to the basics. Don't commit penalties. Don't give up big plays. You gave up a boatload of them a night ago. And just go back to playing Houston, Texas football. Run the football, play action fake, play defense. You're fine. You just lost to a team who is probably just as good as you are. Their record doesn't say that, but they're just as good as you are, and you know that. And they got you. Now move forward. You're the best team in your division. You're going to win that division. You're going to win it running away. So just continue to play good football. You'll be fine. So now you're 5-1. You're no longer undefeated. That monkey is off your back. And so now there's one. And then there was one. The Falcons are the only undefeated team in the National Football League, and they won't be that way for long. They're going to drop one here soon. They're going on their bye week this week, but they're going to drop one soon. They keep coming close every week. They're not going to be able to dodge that bullet every single week, so they'll go down here soon. Texans just happened to go down before them because they played a really good team. The Falcons haven't played that team yet that's going to be able to take them out, but they'll encounter that team soon enough. Whether it's the Saints or someone in their division or someone else that they have to play outside their division, they'll go down soon enough. Now, that's going to do it for the weekend that was in our quest to go, slate skating. That's a touchdown. Throw it up. I'm going to tack on this quick extra point. Stay tuned for the Redskins report, as I've went through every game on the slate on Sunday with the omission of one, of course, that being the Redskins taking on the Minnesota Vikings. I will go over that game extensively, tell you every single thing I took away from that game, everything I saw. And it's Victory Monday, so I'm very excited to do the Redskins report. I'm excited to do it either way, whether it's a win or a loss. But it's even that much more fun to do when it's a win. You can talk about things you saw on the heels of a victory. And so that will be coming up shortly after I post this video. Keep your eyes peeled for the Redskin report. That'll be coming up shortly. I thank you for joining me on this trip around the league as we went back and took a look at the weekend that was and went slate skating. I encourage you to drop something in the inbox at inthelabroom@gmail.com. I'm on Twitter at inthelabroom. That is the Twitter handle. I'm on Facebook. Every single video that I post is on Facebook. So if you ever miss an episode, want to check one out, you saw something back from week 4 and it was funny, or you wanted to check out something, every single episode I've ever done on my Facebook page, In the Lab Room, is the Facebook page. Like the page. I thank you for the support. I thank you for joining me in the Lab Room. I'm your host, Lou, again. Thank you. And it got so good to me that I almost left without doing a Monday night game. I mean, this week was terrible. And this Monday night game, the only thing this could do is keep me above 500. If I lose this game, I go to 7-7. I win this game, I go to 8-6. It's a bad week. We'll talk about that on Tuesday, about where this week went awry. Let's just talk about this Monday night matchup really fast and get out of here. This game is family business. And so it's going to be a tough game between two teams that know each other very well. The Denver Broncos are heading out to San Diego to take on the Chargers. And again, some family business. This isn't any of my business because, again, this isn't my family business. I know nothing about the AFC West other than I know the teams. I watch the games. But they know each other intimately. I only can look from afar and watch these teams. But these teams know each other intimately. That's why it's family business. And so, I told you a week ago, I washed my hands with the San Diego Chargers. I'm done with them. They play anybody that's any good. I'm not picking them. I don't care if they're home. Doesn't matter if they're away. if there's a chance, if there's a minute possibility that they can lose a game, I'm not picking them because I don't trust the San Diego Chargers. They are an absolute joke in my book. And so the Denver Broncos are playing the San Diego Chargers. Peyton Manning is on fire right now. 11 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions, and those 3 interceptions came in one football game against the Atlanta Falcons. He's playing really, really good football right now. And so I think that this Denver Broncos team can go on the road because these San Diego Chargers, home. What does home mean for them? Nobody comes to the games. Nobody's watching it on television in San Diego. They don't care about that team. They don't have a real home field advantage. What does home mean for San Diego? All it means is that the other team is not home. And so Denver is going to come in there. If their fans feel like traveling, they can pack the stadium for the Denver Broncos fans. Take over the stadium. It'll be like a home game for the Broncos. I can remember one year where Jay Cutler and the Broncos started the season off matter of fact, it was the first year under Josh McDaniels. They started the season off like 3 or 4-0. And they had a Monday night game where they wore those ugly colors with the brown and yellow. And they came in San Diego and took over. Took over the stadium. Broncos fans everywhere. It was like a home game. I expect them to do the same thing tonight. Peyton Manning in the house. I expect the Broncos to show up in full mass in San Diego. Take over the stadium. Broncos are going to go in there. This isn't a Chargers defense that's a world beater. They're not going to shut you down unless you have a very meager offense. So I expect Peyton to be able to dissect them. You know, he's not going to just go in there and carve them up like, say, he did the Oakland Raiders. I think he's going to have a very solid performance against them. You know, move the ball down the field. If there's plays to be made there, make them, just like Drew Brees did against them a week ago. Take advantage of any opportunities that afford themselves to them and win the football game. I think they'll be able to run a bit. Not as much as they were against the Raiders, but they'll be able to run the football, establish that. Peyton Manning can go play action fake off of it. Be precise. I think he'll win the chess match between him and that Chargers defense. He'll get to the line of scrimmage, see what they're trying to do, and make them show their hand early on. Get them to kind of tell what they're doing. Go off of that. Make them pay. Defensively, I feel like the San Diego Chargers, or offensively, excuse me, I feel like the San Diego Chargers are underachievers. Phillip Rivers should be carving up defenses with Malcolm Floyd, and Robert Meacham, and Eddie Royal, and Antonio Gates. He's not, though. He's a wishy-washy quarterback. There's games where he'll explode on you. You know, 27 of 35, 337 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. You go, wow. That's really good, Phillip. And then there's other games where he's 26 of 39, you know, 297 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. They lose the game, and you're like, come on, Phillip, what are you doing, man? And those are the games where he starts to press. When he just goes out and plays football, doesn't try to force the issue, finds the open receiver, he's fine. But when he starts trying to, he doesn't have the strongest arm in the world. He's a push quarterback. He has that push motion. When he starts trying to force it into tight windows to guys, that's when he gets into trouble. Just play San Diego Chargers football. Just play Phillip Rivers football. Find an open man. You're a pinpoint accurate quarterback. When you're on, there's not many in the league that can put it in a precise spot better than you. But when you start pressing, when you feel like you have to win the game by yourself, when you have to make the play to win the game, that's when you start pressing. That's when you start making mistakes. And that's when the San Diego Chargers team is its most vulnerable. That's where you were last year. That's what you're starting to become this year. Stop pressing. Start making plays. Make the right play. Make the right decision. And you'll be fine. But again, I don't trust you to do that. I've entrusted myself to you too many times for you to have just, let me down and for you to throw up all over yourself for you to pull my pants down and point and laugh, and I'm not allowing you to do that anymore. So I'm going with the Denver Broncos tonight because I think they're going to be able to slow down Ryan Matthews. He may put it on the carpet once tonight, maybe twice, if you allow him to do that. He's a fumbler. Think he's due for a fumble. Phillip Rivers, after seeing what Peyton Manning is doing across from him, is going to try to come out and match him. He's going to start pressing. Mistakes, Bronco mistakes, or turnovers. Broncos are going to turn those mistakes into points. And I just see this being a nice old-fashioned shootout. Again, anytime you play the Chargers, it's probably going to be a shootout because Chargers don't really play that great a defense. And they can score points. And so you're going to have to outscore them to beat them. And so again, another shootout just as it was a week ago on Sunday Night Football when they were playing the New Orleans Saints. And I expect them to have a shootout tonight against the Denver Broncos. But again, I have the Broncos coming out on top 27-24 in an old-fashioned AFC West shootout. Gunfight. Again, I'm not showing up to this fight. I have no reason to. This is family business. Let's just hope neither one of these teams show up to this gunfight with a knife. Because if you do, you're in a lot of trouble. And if someone does show up with a knife, I got my money on the fact that it'll be the San Diego Chargers. It won't be Peyton Manning and that Denver Broncos offense. They'll show up with their guns and they'll be loaded and they'll be ready to fire. If someone shows up without a gun or it's not loaded or it's blanks, it'll be the Chargers. Because I've washed my hands clean of them. So Broncos 27, Chargers 24. Broncos elevate their record on the season to 3-3. Meanwhile, these San Diego Chargers, who have had every opportunity to run away with this division, will find themselves evened up at 3-3 on the season as well. And again, I feel like the Broncos are the class of that division. And if they get even with the Chargers with a win at San Diego, meaning the one remaining game between these two teams will be in Denver, feel like they'll be even. They'll start leaving the San Diego Chargers. Because there's no one else in this division. This is a two-team race. These are the two teams that it's going to boil down to in the AFC West. The Chargers and the Broncos. The Oakland Raiders stink. The Kansas City Chiefs are funky. Those two teams are going to be fighting over last place. So these two teams are going to battle it out, and I think this game is going to go a long way in saying who's going to win this division. And so that's my prediction for tonight's game. Now, I can tell you that this is a touchdown. That was the extra point. That was a 2-point conversion because I gave you an extra point, gave you another one. So that's a 2-point conversion. I'm done. That's the Monday episode of In the Lab Room. I thank you for joining me. Again, I'm Lou, your host. You were in the lab room. I thank you for joining me. Want to see you back here same time, same place. See you tomorrow. Hopefully I'm 8-6 on the week, not 7-7. Have a good one.